Hello.
Hello.
I've missed you, bestie. So this
Missed
is
you
my
too.
business partner and my very best friend. 25 years of friendship, James and I, just before we start our conversation, just had to get that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
25 years. Long
25,
time.
very long time. So James here is going to talk to me a little bit today, and we're going to go a little bit over what our predictions are, what we think the real estate market's going to be like. And of course, this is our opinion and what we think. So let's get started here. So today we're going to touch upon a few things. First of all, 2021, what the year was like, despite the pandemic. How has it been in Portugal? Have people been buying? Have we been completely stopped? Has real estate stopped? 2022, what's 2022 going to be like? Is it going to be an amazing year? Is it going to be a terrible year? Is COVID, is Omicron everywhere? Are we all going to die? The answer is no.
Oh, I was afraid. I thought you were going to say yes.
Okay, so we do have a video coming out very soon, which is going to tell you our opinion, but we're going to talk to you in live. And please don't hesitate to give us your questions so that we can answer them as best as possible. So let's start a little bit about 2021 and what we saw this year and how things have been going. Oh, what happened there? So 2021 was an amazing year for us. We've seen that so many people be moving to Portugal. I think they saw that the quality of life here was exceptional. The pandemic, on the contrary to what some people may have thought, people have just been moving here and looking for more space. People wanted bigger properties with land or with terraces. We saw this in the center of Lisbon. People just wanted to get out of their small apartments that were difficult to afford, such as in New York, Paris, London, for example, and they just wanted more space. So Portugal offered that. Also, Portugal did quite well. Although it's true that COVID was high here, Portugal did very well, keeping it low, doing the right things. Of course, restaurants and bars and that did close down, but they did do a lot to try and open up quickly. And the Portuguese culturally are very respectful of the rules as well. So that did help things speed up a little bit the process and get things going. So that's what we saw, people have been coming to Portugal. Interest rates have remained relatively low, so banks have been in favor of lending. So why would you rent a property if you can buy a property, actually own it and spend less than rent? People thought, wow, that is amazing. And at One Stop Properties, we were helping people as well obtain these mortgages, which has been great. So people are buying bigger properties. Also, the golden visa rush. So yes, we're going to touch upon the subject. Golden visa was something that has it stopped? Hasn't it stopped? What's happened? 2021 last year was the last year that you could purchase properties in Lisbon, Porto, the Algarve, and some of the coastlines. So what we saw was people were rushing in, buying these properties at the 500K range and just taking advantage of that last moment. So we had a lot of those transactions right now. A lot of people have been looking for distressed assets as well, such as hotels, office spaces. That's been going crazy. So really, we saw a lot of activity on that side, and people looking for large commercial real estate too. And so I'm going to give it a little bit to James about what you thought last year was like for us.
Yeah, so Alexandra covered the point saying that 2021 was, if we go back actually to 2020, we were quite afraid of 2021 when the pandemic started. We didn't know where the market was going to go. We were working very hard during the first lockdown in order to
freaked out.
figure out.
Finish, no more.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what was going to happen the next year in 2021. What kind of a year was it going to be? And it was a phenomenal year. Purchases were going up. As Alexandra said, this rush for the golden visa was very intense. People from crypto, from all over the United States, from the West Coast, from East Coast, from London due to Brexit, all the French-speaking countries of Benelux have not stopped investing in Portugal. Not only investing, wanting to move here. wanting to move here for the amazing lifestyle, wanting to move here for the weather, for the cost of living, for the safety in Portugal. Portugal is the fourth safest country in the world. For the beaches, for the schools, for the health system. All these advantages really went above COVID and were elements to get people to decide themselves, and was actually a big boost of, come on, people hesitating for a few years, for a few months about moving abroad. This was a big kick in the butt, in the sense of, okay, now it's time to change our lives. Now it's time to live in a place that looks quite close to paradise, and now's the right time to make this big life change. So yes, 2021 was a very good and interesting year. Quite a few people who have their reserves regarding 2022. Is this a boom? Is this a fashion phenomenon? Is this a trend? Our thoughts are not at all. People still have the same drive, the same adrenaline that makes them want to move here. And this we've seen, and we are still seeing, through all the advantages mentioned previously. So the low interest rate, it's still very easy to get a very good loan in Portugal. All the fiscal advantages that are still in place. Safety still here, the amazing weather's still here, the great
James, just touch up on safety, because many of our Brazilian clients are asking, because of the political situation in Brazil, they're moving to Portugal. So they're moving to Portugal because of the languages also, but what's the main reason that Brazilians are coming to Portugal?
So I think, yeah, as you said, there's the same language, first of all, that's spoken here. There is political instability in Brazil. It's not always safe throughout Brazil, and here you do find a miniature version. So a lot of people compare Portugal to California, but it is in some senses comparable to Brazil. The long coastlines, the ocean, all the activities that you can do, surfing.
And you can find closed gated communities as well, because if you really, Portugal is super safe. Brazilians sometimes are a bit wary, and they do want to have closed gated communities. You can have that here, also known as condominiums.
Exactly, yeah, we have several, and we're seeing more and more. Although Portugal is extremely safe, some people do prefer a beautiful gated condominium with tons of services, with gyms and spas and pools and tennis courts and safety at the entrance, etc. And this we're finding more and more, and is being developed more and more. Alexandra, when we were talking about the golden visa, why do you think that in 2022 the golden visa market will not be affected?
Well, first of all, let's go a little bit about this. So it is ending in the main areas for real estate, but there are other ways, there are loopholes to get in. You can invest through venture capitalist funds. These are investment funds that are both invested into real estate and other private equity. For example, you can, for a sum of 500,000 euros, which is a great opportunity. Basically, you pay no entry fees, no maintenance fees, and no exit fees. And you're getting a flat rate, you're getting an expected return as well, and you're doing nothing. You're getting your golden visa served on a platter. So there are ways to still invest into the golden visa. Also, if you do buy properties in the center of Portugal, for example, you can find Comporta, Alentejo as well, land, for example. There are other opportunities, so it hasn't completely ended. Also, some properties that offer hotel service apartments, for example, are ways to get in the golden visa. So it hasn't completely ended. Now, the properties that have been sold for the golden visa, everyone is saying and speculating that, oh my goodness me, these properties are going to depreciate. I don't believe so. The reason we mentioned digital nomads have been popping up and moving to Portugal. Students have as well. Cost of living is low. Quality of life is great. Big companies such as Google is moving here, for example. That's having people that want to come and rent little pads. So these are T1s, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. These are the perfect golden visa properties that have been bought over the last couple of years. I do think that these properties are going to be rented, and that's going to be great for it. So these properties will not depreciate. If anything, they're going to appreciate. That's my opinion.
I agree. We are seeing more and more students or digital nomads that were struggling to actually make a decent living in other European countries or even abroad in the US, and have discovered that they could make a very comfortable living here in Portugal, and are willing to rent these smaller apartments that were destined to golden visa. So yeah, that makes complete sense that they will be rented out, and we will still have high demand for these ex-golden visa properties in Lisbon.
I just think we need to turn it as a twist. So maybe some of the developers that have targeted their products for the 1 bedrooms, 2 bedroom golden visa price range may suffer a bit. But then again, other investors could come in and buy these properties simply to hold them as investments for rental, for the rental market, which there is a serious lack of here in Portugal, especially in Lisbon. And Comporta, for example, and Cascais. So actually all over. There's a big lack of the rental market. I do predict there's going to be more need for rentals and more investors coming in looking for that.
Completely, yeah. And we also have seen and predict a shift of where people will invest. As you mentioned, Alentejo, places like Porto, but the entire central Portugal is still open to the obtention of a golden visa, still qualifies. And people are now looking for space, nature, sustainability, being able to cultivate their own fruit and veg, living amongst nature, having a much larger house for a much lower cost, yet being within an hour and 15 minutes from the capital, Lisbon.
James, tell us a little bit about Comporta. I know you love it there. I do too. Oh, it gives me chills. The idea of Comporta, that beautiful nature, barefoot luxury style. Tell us a bit about it and why you
actually just back from Comporta just an hour ago, and I always hate leaving Comporta because it's such a magical place. Comporta is basically remained itself and has preserved its essence and its authenticity. It has developed in a very high-end and luxurious place, but it has preserved all its essence. Imagine a few villages along the coastline. Then you have rice fields, beautiful green rice paddies, sand dunes, and 60 kilometers of wide sandy beaches.
That exists? Really? That actually exists in Europe?
It exists. And what is fantastic over there is that this 60 kilometers of coastline and the dunes and the rice fields are completely preserved. No one will ever be able to build on them. So that's 60 kilometers of untouched beauty and nature.
So these are places that for sure we predict in 2022 are definitely going to rise. So we're going to see Alentejo, Comporta areas, more of these nature. Again, people looking for more space, more back to roots, back to simplicity.
Exactly. And people wanting to completely change their lives with new projects. Like, for example, going out to a place like Comporta and buying a plot of land. Imagine getting the chance to buy your plot of land,
build your
around like the plots and developments that we're selling at the moment. You're always with great architects and surrounded by all the competent people to help you create the project.
But permits are difficult to obtain, though, isn't that right, James?
It is. And you get the opportunity to actually design, draw, create your dream home, which is something fantastic and that people are really looking for now.
Exactly. They're looking for, and I say it again, they're looking for projects or properties, land that they can build their house, but with an approved project or backed up by an architect and a team that can help them. Because we're seeing that people have had a difficult time over the last couple of years. They've been buying land, they didn't know what to do with it, or they weren't able to obtain licenses. Whereas now, developers And some sellers have looked at it differently. They're selling land, but with projects already, just making it much easier for the final client or buyer to be able to build their house. So that's definitely.
That's something we noticed, is that it is a complex path to follow, building your dream home. So we've been putting into place and creating the perfect teams that allow people to create their dream home problem free, and to be guided and assisted and surrounded by all the right people. This is now completely possible.
We have a question here of how much is land in Comporta. I'll let you answer that question, James, because that's quite variable.
So yeah, it varies. It completely varies on the surroundings. You have micro areas that are a lot more expensive than others. But what I can say is, up till today, we've always found the perfect plot of land for all our clients, for all the budgets. And there is always...
I'm not going to break my piggy bank then.
There's always a plot waiting for you, and there's always the right plot out there.
That's amazing. It's really great to know. And James, tell me, as you know, as you came from Paris as well, and I'm from London, and we're from everywhere, we're seeing a lot of French nationalities, French countries, Switzerland, for example, French-speaking countries, I mean, Anglo-Saxon, Brits, for example. Why are all these people still coming to Portugal, and why do you predict they're still going to come in 2022?
I think they're still coming because, I mean, look around the other day when we were walking in Lisbon, the number of little cafes, of French boulangeries, the number of art exhibitions, the culture is booming. The history of Lisbon has remained untouched, but is being...
Charm, isn't it? That just, oh, that charm.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's all these little things that are popping up that continue creating a buzz and that make people still wanting to come. Lisbon and Portugal hasn't just relied on its success and thought that what was done is enough. People are continuing to create new businesses, and expats arriving also are wanting to create and to make their surroundings and where they live even better. So we're seeing farmers markets, new restaurants, new places to go out. It's non-stop. Things are popping up every week. And every time we go into town and every time we're walking around, we're always amazed at what's opening and how fun everything is.
And with that being said, not only have we seen a lot of, and we will be seeing more French Brits coming as well. Of course, we have many other nationalities. A big one that I've seen, and we've taken a lot into consideration, I think there's going to be more Americans. We've seen a lot of Americans from California, for example. It's no secret that Cascais is known as the new Cascais Californication. It's very similar to Northern California, with the same type of temperatures, the same type of coastline, everything about it, the cliffs, the lifestyle, the fact that there's a lot of English-speaking schools, international schools, for example, doctors, healthcare, just going around and, you know, into shops, wherever you go, people do speak English. Americans are starting to love Portugal, and it's becoming a little secret that's no longer a secret anymore. More and more are coming, and I believe that this year, 2022, more are going to come. Quality of life is superb. It's relatively cheap as well. It's much cheaper than the United States. Healthcare is a lot cheaper as well. And people are realizing they can have that similar lifestyle as in California, but here in Portugal, here in Europe. You're taking advantage of it. When being in Europe, the weekend, you can just take a plane, fly to wherever. If you want to fly to Eastern Europe, for example, you want to go to Austria, you want to go to Germany for the weekend, you can do anything. Visit Europe and live in Europe at the same time and still feel like you are a little bit at home with an English-speaking culture. So I do think...
And even you're 7 hours from Miami, 7 hours from New York, when you want to go home.
Nothing.
Close.
Nothing. It's also easy to set up your company in Portugal. We're seeing big companies move to Portugal, and we're seeing startups. Also, a lot of startups booming in Portugal right now. So that's a big thing. We're seeing digital nomads that are moving to Portugal. 2022, I believe we're going to have a lot more techies coming to Portugal. One of the main reasons, crypto is not taxed in Portugal yet. which is absolutely amazing. I couldn't even believe that myself. We've had a lot of sales from these crypto digital nomads, and I really do predict there's going to be a lot more in 2022. Which brings us to something that I think will change in the real estate market and is changing in 2022. We're seeing a lot more penthouse style, New York style properties in Lisbon. James, what do you think about that? And what do you...
Yeah, I think that's exactly a good indicator. And as you were saying, we're getting a lot more clients from abroad, especially from America. One interesting point is that these clients initially, I'd say over half of them came to Portugal to invest for golden visa reasons, not at all to live. So it was more a commodity investing in Portugal. But the people arrived here, lived maybe for 2-3 weeks, a month, and never went home. And these are the people today that are buying much larger apartments, that just completely fell in love with the country. And this is why today we're seeing so many stunning developments, penthouses with 400 square meters of terrace. And
great materials, great finish.
Rooftops, overlooking the river, top-notch appliances, fantastic finishings. These developers have not been creating these penthouses innocently. There is a real demand behind all of this.
And that we have a question that many people have asked and almost complained about. The price per square meter is going up. It's going up in Cascais, in Comporta, in Lisbon. What do you think about that? Do you think it's too much?
Is it going up? Yes, it is. Should it be going up? Yes, it should be going up. I mean, where else on earth do you find the beaches, the healthcare, safety, a beautiful lifestyle for close to nothing? That doesn't exist. So, of course, people have discovered this gem that is Portugal, and the demand is high now, so prices are going up. Is it to the level of the prices of New York, Paris, and London, where you maybe don't get white sandy beaches and 300 days of sunshine per year? No, we're not at that level. We're not even halfway there.
Exactly. So, we're not trying to say that Lisbon is, for example, New York, Manhattan. No, but it has so many qualities. And if you look into perspective and you think, and I'm going to just throw it out there, let's say 5 million euro penthouses here. So that's what, 6 million euro penthouse in the United States. When you have massive rooftop terraces, your own private pool, gym, condo, all these things. And these are the properties that we've been moving over the last year. And we're going to get more of this year. Where do you find that elsewhere? You don't. You really don't.
You don't.
So prices are going up.
These types of penthouses have been inspired in a way by penthouses that you can find in New York, for example. The amenities levels of finishings are absolutely stunning, and these have been created for this clientele that would have bought a penthouse on the 30th floor in New York. Well, now you can find them here at the same price. Not at all. Has the price per square meter gone up? Yes, it has. Are we at the price of New York? No, we're probably 10 times cheaper than what if you wanted to buy an equivalent.
Exactly. I have a question.
And there's an interesting clientele, Alexandra. As you're actually director of the Women's Luso Indian Chamber of Commerce, why is India becoming such a big investor in Portugal today?
So India has close relations with Portugal, and it has had for centuries. Indians have also realized that Portugal, being one of the safest places in Europe, and Lisbon being one of the greenest cities in Europe, has a lot of interesting facts, such as tech, for example, which is going up, green sustainable energy, hydrogen. All of these things are, they couldn't be found elsewhere in Europe at such a cheap price. The Indians have also realized too that the workforce is very skilled in Portugal. People do speak very good English, and salaries are relatively low. So they know that there is an opportunity here. Portugal and India have been working together for many years. The golden visa has attracted the Indians as well. And they also realize there's opportunities in the hotel industry. commercial real estate as well, such as offices too, they've started to buy in because it is a lot cheaper than other major European capitals. Indians are going where there's a trend as well. They're injecting a lot of capital into Portugal, and Portugal is also investing into India as well. So there's a lot of bilateral trade for the both countries. Textiles as well have been going back and forth. And I say it again, sustainable energies, which is going to be a very, very big factor over the next couple of years.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I believe we've seen the same and still are seeing the same phenomenon with China that is happening with India. We've got quite a few questions. Maybe we could answer a few. So Jasmine Murphy is asking, what are the areas where you see growth potential for investment?
I see a few areas myself. I think that the area of Comporta is really going to grow a lot into 22. Melides, Comporta area, Alentejo area for sure. Cascais is already quite high, but areas around Cascais, maybe Sintra too a little bit.
Going north above Malveira da Serra, all these areas along the coast, just going further north where the prices are cheaper, of course, are going to grow substantially.
Exactly. I think south of the bridge as well, Caparica, Aroeira area too is going to grow because the prices are relatively cheaper than areas such as Cascais, and you are the same distance from Lisbon.
Right. So we've got another question, which is, for a new expat, should you rent or should you buy? So I think you answered this question, Alex, given the extremely low interest rates, you're usually refunding a bank a lower amount than your loan would be. So exactly. I think that answers the question.
I would always suggest come rent an Airbnb, for example, in different areas. Get to know your areas, understand where you are, but don't do a long-term lease. Do some short-term leases, already furnished places, and definitely take advantage of the low interest rates.
Of course, yeah. Leah Courteau is asking, what do you think of São Vicente in terms of market value? Is it good to invest or live? So São Vicente is still it's in the area of Alfama in Lisbon, which is the oldest and historical of Lisbon, which is a beautiful place to live in. It's, if you're comparing to Paris, it's
east of Lisbon, correct?
East of Lisbon, yeah. Yeah, it is still good value to live in. It is very touristic, but one of the most beautiful places in the city.
And relatively, well, the prices are relatively cheaper than the more central parts of Lisbon.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have Francisco Polatino Alvarez, who is asking, will the luxury market increase, drop, or plateau?
Well, I'm going to answer that. It's going to increase. I'm no doubt about that. No doubt. And for all the reasons we mentioned above, digital nomads moving, people coming, high net worth individuals realizing that Portugal is a real gem, which is strategically located in Europe.
Eliza is asking, do you think price houses will drop in Portugal? And if yes, in which areas? No, we don't forecast the prices to drop, unfortunately. But what we love to do is find all the greatest deals that we can for you in areas.
We're trying every day.
In areas that continue to increase. That's the idea. I think prices are increasing, and every month you will pay a little bit more. But as long as you're investing in an area that's continuing to increase, then your investment makes perfect sense. So, Alex, how would you like to wrap up this live regarding your predictions on 2022?
I think we have another question here. What do we think about Nazaré? So Nazaré is a beautiful area as well. There's a documentary that just came out as well about about the surf in Nazaré. I think it's a very cool area too. If you don't need to be too central and you don't need to have kids in international school, it could be a beautiful place to live. It does have that charm of being in Portugal, and if you love surfing, you love the waves, it could be a great place for you. So that's one of the questions we had. We had another question: how much is a 3-bedroom in Lisbon going to cost? Well, that's going to be very relative depending on where in Lisbon you want. Price per square meters, I would say on an average would be around 5,000–6,000 euros for something that's a used product, and that can bump up to 10,000–12,000 for something that's new in the luxury end. Again, you can find things that are a lot less as well. It really does depend on the product.
Prices. We have Ina asking, what is the level of interest of the segment with which you work in learning Portuguese? This is a great question because people can think that all these expats coming to Portugal stay amongst themselves and don't bother learning Portuguese. It's quite the opposite. We have so many clients asking us for a good Portuguese teacher. People are really making the effort to learn.
Eu acho que devemos falar em português agora.
Devemos falar.
É uma língua muito fácil para aprender, a todas as pessoas que vêm para Portugal deveriam aprender o português. Também acho. So I do think it's something that most people make the effort and come and do learn, and they should continue to do that. So basically, we want to thank you for being here, being with us, supporting us. It does mean a lot. And we do predict that 2022 is going to be a very, very good year, actually, for the real estate market. And I'm not just an optimist saying that. I actually genuinely believe that. It's going to be a very good year. I do think there's a lot more that can be done and should be done. Low-income housing as well should be touched upon, and hopefully this will change as well. People that are moving out of the cities, looking for more affordable prices, I think there's going to be more of those type of housing available, and that's going to happen. Not just talking about the wealth and high net worth individuals and luxury market. There's another market that's going to come up as well and going to boom soon. So Portugal is a place that's on the radar and the global radar, and I really think we have an amazing place that we're living, and there's still a lot more to happen. So you watch out, Portugal 2022.
Thanks everyone for joining us. That was great, supporting us, and we're really, really looking forward to an amazing 2022.
And if you need any information, check our YouTube channel, Alexandra Victoria Bonte, and of course, onestopproperties.com if you do want any other information. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.